keep up.
So how am I gonna
Bunch of
prompt
mics
you
are hot
this
though,
though?
guys.
Okay.
Just let you read that and I'll just sit and, you tell me what you need.
Okay.
Mics are hot.
Thank you. You can stay here.
Probably. Like, movies and like, it's very fun. For Benton Turkey.
Okay. David.
Oh.
David.
Hi. We'll wait till you're ready. Ready? Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Janice Gilley, Escambia County Administrator. Today with me I have Robert Bender, District 4 Commissioner, Todd Thompson, President, Executive Director of Pensacola Area Chamber of Commerce, and Marie Mott, Director of Health for Escambia County, Administrator of Health for Escambia County. We are moving to full recovery mode, and so I would like to continue to mention that if you need assistance with debris cleanup, mucking, tarp installation, and mold remediation, please contact Crisis Cleanup. They're at 1-800-451-1954. Approximately 20 organizations have been working with them. One of the organizations that we're aware of is there are 70 different Latter-day Saints churches that have brought in 803 workers that have already committed over 10,130 volunteer hours working on 366 different work orders for our community. Mercy Chefs, another group that we've mentioned to you, they have provided over 20,801 meals to our community, and they've also been heavily providing those at Brownsville. They are going to be leaving town tomorrow, so we'd really like to say thank you to them and all the services that they've provided. Other groups that are in town as part of this crisis cleanup group, Florida Baptist Disaster Relief, All Hands and Hearts, Salvation Army, the Red Cross, Catholic Charities, the Church of the Highlands, City of Hope, Helping Hands Community Outreach, Team Rubicon, INCA Relief USA, Lutheran Charities, International Orthodox Christian Charities, United Methodist Conference, Lifeline Counseling, the Mennonite Disaster Services, Rivertown Community Church, Samaritan's Purse, Urban Strategies Incorporated, Volunteer Florida, Brace, and United Way. As you can see, we've had a lot of folks come into town to help us. We are still working with our state and federal partners. We continue to get a lot of communication from the State Department of Emergency Management and also from our FEMA partners. And so they are working to complete all of their assessments, and the valuations are still being calculated. Debris removal began today across the county, and as I mentioned previously, please be patient. As we all know, debris removal is extremely difficult for 626 square miles, of which Escambia County is. So especially after a Cat 2 storm, it may take a while. We've already given them the challenge of having it all done, accomplished within 90 days. We want you to please look out for the haulers, okay? Particularly in the areas where the commercial debris sites will be. Those are going to be in the areas of Pensacola State College on Highway 98. So traffic will increase around Highway 98 near the Naval Hospital. The Midtown Commerce Park, that is not far here from Fairfield. It's on Palafox. And then also OLF 8. The traffic will increase on the west end of 9 Mile, but we are working to make sure that we will be able to mitigate too much traffic there on 9 Mile for you all. The residential sites, which will all be open by Friday. There will be Lexington Terrace, Bars Field, the Equestrian Center, Park East at Pensacola Beach, the John R. Jones Park, and also the Oak Grove landfill. As more sites are provided, we'll let you know, but for now, those are our residential sites. As we all know, hopefully, the Department of Transportation Secretary Thibault has directed Florida's Turnpike to extend the toll suspension on Garcon Point until Friday, October 23rd, which I think that's really good news for our community. All 4 of our Escambia County Tax Collector's offices are open and for regular business hours. The Supervisor of Elections office reopened on Monday and has continued to operate. The Property Appraiser's offices are open for our regular business hours as well. MC Blanchard Judicial Building, that remains closed through Friday, September 25th due to damage from Hurricane Sally. The other clerk's offices are open for walk-in customers. As far as county services, Animal Services is open for stray intake. We are asking the individuals that would like to surrender their animals or to adopt to please make an appointment. We also have our animal control out responding to calls in the field and working hard to reunite any pets with their families. Our central office complex building, which has engineering, development services, and building services, are all open and ready to serve the public. Neighborhood Services is also, they are staffed, many of them are staffed working the different feeding sites and the pod sites, and then also preparing our community centers for the public at this time. 6 of our 7 libraries are open. Unfortunately, the downtown library has to remain closed due to damage. ECAT, as I mentioned yesterday, is running a regular modified service, and the following routes will be temporarily suspended. Route 41, which is East Pensacola Heights, Route 59A, which is NAS Pensacola to the airport, the 59X, which is NAS Pensacola downtown and Cordova Mall, Route 61, which was Pensacola Beach, and Route 64, which was called the Beach Jumper. All of those have been temporarily suspended. As we've also mentioned to you, the buses may experience traffic delays due to detours and then sometimes maybe because of debris. They will continue to run every 2 hours until this Saturday. And then also the UWF trolley service will resume on Thursday, tomorrow. The Escambia County Transportation Paratransit services did resume yesterday. I would also like to mention that our CARES, we have mentioned before about the money that the county has received related to COVID and for CARES. That Family Emergency Financial Assistance Grant will begin on Friday, September 25th, and it will start from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. in person, but it will be online as well, and it will run until Tuesday, September 29th. Beginning tomorrow, CARES Act applications will be available in hard copy at the Beulah Senior Center, the Brownsville Community Center, Carver Park Community Center, Century Library, Escambia County Extension Services, the Marie K. Young Wedgwood Community Center, and the Molino Community Center. The Board of County Commissioners plans to take action tomorrow to waive all fees for permits that are required for rebuilding and repair. And so we wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Next Wednesday, we want you to have information on how to help yourselves whenever you're providing structural damage repair. And so we're providing from 3:30 until 5 p.m. at our Building Services Department. We will be providing a workshop. Another workshop will be provided in that same topic on Pensacola Beach the following week. We've also mentioned for you to please continue to look at your insurance claims, document your insurance, and also contact your insurance agent. We also don't want you to be a victim. Make sure that you continue to research contractors by contacting Building Inspections Department here in Escambia County at 595-3509. And then also you can check on the Department of Business and Professional Regulations website, myfloridalicense.com. We want you to continue to be on the lookout for price gouging. Call the price gouging hotline at 1-866-9-NO-SCAM. And then we mentioned yesterday as well, if you have a personal recreational vehicle and you would like to live in that vehicle and reside on your property while your property is being repaired or replaced, you do need to get a permit. However, as I mentioned, we are waiving the fees for those permits. The number for that is 595-3475. At this time, I'd like to ask Commissioner Robert Bender to please come to the podium.
Thank you, Administrator. First off, I'd like to thank Governor DeSantis and the Florida Department of Transportation for waiving the tolls at Garcon Point for the next 30 days. That was something that your local delegation, led by Senator Broxson and Representative Alex Andrade, have been working, and I'm sure, I haven't talked to him, but also our other representative, sorry, skip my name, but anyway, Santa Rosa representative as well. J.R. Williamson, thank you. That have all been working on that because we know how important it is for our constituents. So I want to thank them for that. This morning, we held a meeting with representatives from the City of Pensacola, the City of Gulf Breeze, Santa Rosa Island Authority, as well as numerous Escambia County staff and staff from the City of Pensacola regarding setting up a ferry. We expect to have a follow-up meeting later this week, including representatives from FDOT. So I want to, again, thank FDOT for their, they've been working on setting this up as well. This will probably take a few weeks to set up by the time we get all of our infrastructure in place and the assets in place. But it is something that we are working on for our community, for those that would like to have this alternative travel plan instead of going Garcon Point. I also want to thank our Public Works crew today. We did a neighborhood cleanup in the North Point area. Although we restricted some of the items we were picking up, it still sounds like it was successful, and we will continue to hold those in District 4. We have started some of the debris cleanup, and we'll be working our way through all of the districts as we do that. Now I'd like to introduce Todd Thompson, Executive Director at Greater Pensacola Chamber.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good afternoon. Todd Thompson, President and CEO, Greater Pensacola Chamber of Commerce. Just a couple of quick announcements. One, just want to reiterate to the public, if you have damage to your home or business, if you would please email photos and your address to news@pensacolachamber.com. Once again, that's news@pensacolachamber.com. That'll help us as we continue to assess the damage. It'll help the county out as they send information into the state and to the federal government about resources that can be sent here. I do want to clarify to our media partners that the county sent out a separate email for any footage you might have, any photos. That is separate from this effort. This effort is just for the public. Again, anyone who wants to send in either their home or business damage, it's news@pensacolachamber.com. Now, in terms of recovery, at ESF 18, we are working with the SBDC and our partners to go ahead and start looking at locations for assistance set up. We won't be announcing those. It'll be similar to what we did with the pods. We won't be announcing those until we have the federal declaration and we have the locations determined and we have the hours set. But I just wanted to let you know that we are working on that diligently, and once the federal declaration is in hand, we'll work quickly to get those set up and open so individuals can come in and start making their business claims. Now I'd like to turn it over to City of Pensacola Mayor Grover Robinson.
Todd, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Grover Robinson, City of Pensacola Mayor. Give you an update on a couple of things. Parks and Recreation. Again, we believe we've gotten all 353 trees that were blocking roadways. However, if we have not, if you know one that is blocking the roadway that's in the city limits, please call us at 436-5670. 436-5670. We are in the process of Parks and Recs has hired 5 local contractors to begin work in most impacted city parks, City Hall, and medians. Parks and Rec is working with inspection services to finalize damages. They also expect to have ongoing work at the golf course, but they are hoping by the weekend to have 9 holes open and driving range. Roger Scott Tennis Center has reopened the 18 hard courts and is working to get 8 of the clay courts back open. Athletics is working to get Exchange Park and Roger Scott Fields back in playable condition. Damage assessments, again, we're continuing to work with FEMA. At this particular time, building city building facilities are looking at approximately $10 million. The Port of Pensacola is looking at approximately $11 million. Damage to city parks and waterfront assets are currently ongoing, but somewhere between $10 to $12 million. And private property damage estimates in the city of Pensacola are at $15 million. On garbage, again, city sanitation is picking up your black cans garbage. We started that at the beginning of the week. Today we were doing Monday, Tuesday routes. Tomorrow we will do Wednesday, Thursday routes. We'll come back again. Due to the large amount of garbage, some routes were a little late and they're behind, so your patience is appreciated. Some crews are trying to get everything done from sun up to sundown. So if we miss you, we will be coming back. We're trying to schedule second pickups. Please call our sanitation services at 435-1890. 435-1890. So we asked if we somehow missed you, please call us. We're trying to get everybody, but we've put two routes into one day. Beginning on Monday, we will get back to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Regular service will be reestablished next week. Also, we'll just be picking up black cans only. We want to get to recycling at this point. This is a reminder that due to damage sustained at the ECUA recycling facility, the City of Pensacola is not collecting recyclables at this time. That does not mean we won't take your brown can if you bring it out. However, if you bring it out, the brown can, it will be collected as garbage. If you were trying to hold on and you wish to wait for recycling, then hopefully we are working with hearing from ECUA that they hope to resume by late October, early November. So we ask that you make whatever judgment you want to, but if you bring your brown can to the street, we will pick it up. We'll be back to regular service, but we are not picking up recyclables. We're only picking up garbage at this particular time. So again, that's where we are. Debris total has started. We've got 15 crews working. As of last night, for 2 days, they picked up 226 loads of yard debris, totaling over 9,000 cubic yards. Please be patient with us. We are continuing to work our way through. There's currently a map out of the section that they are currently working. We are still working on getting out the rest of the sections. We've been divided into 5 sections. We also hope to be getting more contractors in to begin working. I know the question was asked yesterday. We are still working on sites. We were going to be going to Vickery, but at this point we're looking at other sites. But it is from whatever site they'll go to, they'll transfer. It is going to be, my understanding, I confirm with staff, that it is going to be the landfill that is going to be the ultimate site of wherever we take those. So at this particular time, we are looking to still look for a transfer site, and we will have the final destination at that point. But our crews are out there picking up. Ferry, real quick, we were a part of that today. We do expect to have hopefully some type of landing in the Pensacola area where the other ferries, the old DOI ferries used to dock in that same area. We have plenty of parking spaces in that area, so we are expecting to have some kind of facility that boats can come to, whether it's some type of ferry boats, charter boats. We expect to have that happen in the next 2 weeks. It's going to take about 2 weeks for us to repair to get things out and going. So that's where we are at this particular time, but we're committed to working with our partners and trying to help you as best get from point A to point B. Thank you. And now, Marie Mott of the Florida Department of Health.
Thank you, Mayor. Marie Mott, Florida Department of Health in Escambia County. Just a reminder that the county health departments are open for services at all locations, and information on that can be found at escambiahealth.com. For appointments, you can call our appointment line at 850-595-6554. That's 850-595-6554. Walk-in services available include COVID testing at our downtown location, 1300 West Gregory Street. The details on times for that can be found at escambiahealth.com. And hepatitis A vaccinations at our Fairfield location during business hours. And more information on that can also be found on our website. For WIC services information, you can look at our website, escambiahealth.com, or call 850-595-6670. That's 595-6670. As I mentioned before, we requested an environmental augmentation team to our area after the storm, and they partnered with our staff to perform, through yesterday, 234 environmental assessments throughout the county. And those included mobile home park reviews, public or permitted pools and food service sites, among other things. And they're continuing their assessments through today. I'd like to remind everybody to avoid animals that are not yours and to keep your pets vaccinated. If you are bitten or scratched by an animal or receive other injuries, please make sure you seek immediate medical attention and consider your vaccination needs, including tetanus, hepatitis B, as well as hepatitis A and flu that's coming up. It's also important to practice mosquito prevention precautions, and that includes draining any standing water on or around your property, as well as participating in debris removal programs that are available to you to keep standing water from building up in storm debris. Also remember to cover doors and windows with screens and cover yourself with long sleeve clothing or repellent to prevent mosquito bites. All of our information is pushed out in press releases through our Twitter handle at Escambia Health or Healthy Escambia, and on our website at escambiahealth.com. And I'll turn back over to Administrator Gilly for final remarks.
Thank you. So I did just want to mention that our Citizens Information Line will continue to be operational and operational throughout this weekend. That number is 850-471-6600. You may also continue to call 211. I know that their operators are also here to help you. They're able, with United Way, to help look for things like medical care, prescriptions, financial assistance, and some clothing. And then finally, we would continue to ask you to visit myescambia.com/storm center and also follow us on the Be Ready Escambia Facebook and Twitter. And with that, we would open to questions.
Why is the public being asked to do photos of their damage? I mean, we checked with Lake Charles, they're not having to do photos. Alabama's not having to do photos. Why are we having to do photos?
Well, quite frankly, we thought it might be a good way to continue to demonstrate some of the damage. And so that's why we've asked the media for their stories.
So it's not needed for the declaration?
I would not necessarily say that it's needed for the declaration. What we're trying to do is we're trying to demonstrate the amount of damage. So we have thousands of photos that our assessors have taken and have provided. What we thought that it would be another extra level of damage that we could share that individuals have taken.
But no one else is doing this, so why do we feel like we need to do that?
Well, a conversation was had with one of the senator's offices in which I think they kind of demonstrated that they needed more photos, and so that was one of the things that we thought might be helpful.
Okay.
Is there any risk right now that we won't get FEMA individual assistance without them photos?
I don't know that answer. I don't necessarily know that that's a... I mean, I would say that any information that you can provide them in terms of the more information and photos and things like that can be helpful, but I'm not aware that that would be the reason to not get it.
So I guess, do you have a timeline on when that declaration will be coming out?
Yeah, it's been several days, and I think based on my conversation yesterday with Director Moskowitz, as they're continuing to do the calculations, I would say that he was pretty confident by the end of the week we would hear something.
Well, I guess the only thing that the public is concerned, just somewhat, because when we left here Saturday, you know, you told us that the governor's office had everything they needed for the declaration. Matt Gates, our state representative, came in, or congressman said, he had talked to the White House chief of staff, everything was there, they expected no delay, and all of a sudden Monday, we're having assessment teams come around, we're told that's what's holding us up. So what happened? I mean, why didn't we know this on Saturday?
I mean, you're welcome to answer.
I can tell you, Rick, I did have a call into our people at Washington who talked to the White House on my drive up here, because I figured
So what
this
did Dan
topic.
say?
What came down to it was what I'm being told is that there are other counties that they have not finalized in, not Escambia County. Everything in the city of Pensacola and Escambia County is good. So I've been told that was there, but they are waiting to finalize on other counties. At least that was the word they gave to our people.
So they'll do it as a package? for the
Correct. So, I mean, I don't know if I could get into who's still working or whatever. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, Escambia County, which includes the city of Pensacola, has their stuff in. So, and what I was told was that there were other ones that were still waiting. So, I mean, but again, at no time have we ever been told that we thought that it wasn't going to happen or something else. Granted, I would have wished this would have been faster, but I can assure you, at least Escambia County and the city of Pensacola have moved to get our stuff in as fast as we can.
Yeah.
This is for Janice or Eric, whoever would like to come. Looking back 1 week after landfall in hindsight, did the county make all the necessary preparations to have the best response to Hurricane Sally? If not, what could have been done better, or what will be done better in the future?
I will start with that, and then I will let Mr. Gilmore finish. I think one of the things that we talk about is the fact that the storm moved almost 100 miles within a day or two. So I would say from that perspective, I wish we would have had a better meteorological, prediction. But I do think that we engaged starting on Saturday, and he can go day by day with you what we did and the resources that we called in based on the event that we were told that it was going to be. We were told it was going to be a very heavy water event in terms of flooding, and so we did do those preparations. I think from an after action, we've all been taking notes on after action and things like that. I think that we would all like to say that the next time when we say evacuate, we really mean evacuate. Now, of course, evacuation, we were very fortunate not to have loss of life, but I would say that, evacuation doesn't protect your property from a wind and a rain event and a storm surge event like we've had, but we would have been more, I think, secure in knowing that there wasn't going to be any loss of life. I think that when that storm came through in the middle of the night, there were some concerns, and so I think Eric can talk a little bit about some of the resources that we brought in to try and prepare for, like I said, the water, the flooding, but there was some very nervous hours, not knowing that a lot of people might not have necessarily evacuated or even maybe properly storm shuttered their homes. And so I'll let Eric talk a little bit about that
I
too.
may actually address this a little bit. If I may, sorry, Eric. So yes, and Eric can expand on this, but on Saturday evening was when we had our first emergency operations team. We had it Friday. And so we had already been in contact with our various partners, community partners, and they were prepared for this. So as the storm shifted throughout the day on Tuesday, we were able to respond to that because we already had everybody here. In terms of the fact that we were preparing for a heavy rainstorm, we already had pre-positioned those assets, including the high water rescue vehicles. I think we had 6 that had already been prepped. We also had a swift water rescue team that came from South Florida that was here. That's not something we could have just clobbered together the day of the storm. And so we were forward thinking, we were leaning forward, we were thinking about what we were going to need for what we were being told we were going to have. Because we had already stood up those resources, as soon as we were included in the hurricane warning, we were able to order the evacuation. We had a shelter that was ready to go. All those assets were in place. And so we responded as the information came in as to what Escambia County needed to expect. Even midday Tuesday, and again, 24 hours before the storm made landfall, they were still showing that it was going to go well west of us and that we were going to receive winds less than 58 miles an hour, which is considered a strong tropical storm. So in that sense of the word, I believe all of our partners were engaged. Our facility was up and running. We were pre-positioning assets. After the storm, the area between, even though we were mostly in the eye wall and the back of the storm Wednesday afternoon, the rest of the panel from here to Tallahassee was getting slammed with the same rainfall and winds that we saw throughout the day on Tuesday. So that delayed some of those rescue efforts and resources that were coming in. And then also on Thursday, we had the water, or the river water that was over the Interstate 10 and Highway 90, again, further delaying some of those resources. And that's right in timeline of how they would have responded. They would not have pre-positioned so close to us that they could have been impacted by the storm. And so because of that, we wanted to set up the pods a day earlier, but the effects of Hurricane Sally were felt further to the east and impacted those resources. So, Eric, if you want to.
Just like, so we ordered evacuation?
We did.
Okay.
But it was a volunteer, but we can't give mandatory evacuations. I mean, it would.
Oh, you can.
Well.
I mean, it's done.
But we did have an evacuation.
It was voluntary.
If Zone A was issued on Tuesday evening.
So you feel like you guys were prepared?
I did. I mean, for what we were being told, and even again leaning forward and trying to expect what else could happen, we had those, and so Eric, if you want to expand on any of that.
No, I think they hit it spot on. But if we hadn't pre-positioned or leaned forward enough with those elemental pieces, I think we'd have been well behind the ball Wednesday. Absolutely. We did have a meeting with our operational pieces Friday with the information we was being told. Saturday kind of concerned us a little bit of shift in track. We actually had a meeting here with Mobile Weather at 11 o'clock with all our people coming in, and we discussed protective measures that we should be taking. Once again, we had Red Cross, the shelter stood up, our shelter ready to go, people identified to work it. We had high water assets that were being offered up by the state that we was going to go ahead and snatch those things up, position them in the county ahead of the storm because we was flooding event for our situation. And we all remember 2014, so we kind of knew some of the impacted areas. But having all those pieces stood up, when we wanted to shift, when we went under the hurricane warning, we pulled the trigger immediately, stood the shelter up, did voluntary evacuation for Zone A, preached for 2 days about low-lying areas, flooding event, Zone A storm surge, or zone. Hindsight's 2020. There was a higher storm surge than what we anticipated with the values, and that's something we're going to discuss with Mobile Weather. They're going to come over and look at it and see the amount of rainfall versus the amount of storm surge that we saw, and find out why they kind of met in the middle, and we got a higher values along the coastline. So those are things we'll clean up after this. We do have a laundry list of after actions that we'll address. Nothing runs perfect. I wish it did. I really do. Nothing runs perfect, but thank goodness we had resources ready to go at the last minute. Pull the triggers and resources in the county. Otherwise, we might have a different situation right now.
I would say on the other part, we had 2 days. We had Monday and Tuesday. We came here Tuesday and we did tell people that we saw water very high and that they needed to think it was going to be much worse than this, because that was not when the storm was in. I will say this much though. One of the things I think we all learned is if it's in the Gulf, we can't get, say, the tracks going somewhere. These are not rides at Disney World. They're not going to go on a track. They go wherever they want to go. And so I think from that standpoint, this probably was a good lesson for everybody. And certainly nobody got caught more than Skanska did. And my conversation with them when they called me was simply, from here on out, if there's a storm in the northern Gulf Coast, I don't care what degree it is. What we've seen rapid intensification as well. We've seen what we thought was going to be nothing more than a tropical storm become a Category 4. So I think at this point we've got to realize that if it's in the northern Gulf, we take precautions, and you probably want to even take your precautions maybe a category ahead of what you think you're going to receive, rather than downgrading yourself. I think that would be much smarter for us as we go forward as we look at other storms. But again, this is one of those things. I expect after Ivan, it was like every time we had a storm, people were we're leaving out of here in droves. We get used to it. We see more storms. We get more complacent. We say, well, we're not going to go. I think Sally's going to make us probably think about what we do next time a little bit more, and people are going to act. But I do think when it's in the Northern Gulf, we can't rely on simply saying the track says it's going to Louisiana. Anything can happen with a weather system. And even this one, they showed there were 2 high-pressure systems that they weren't really sure what was going to happen. So, I think we've got to beware and do whatever we can. But again, when we come to you and we tell you we did have all day Tuesday and the water was high on Tuesday, it got up to almost people's houses. We told you tomorrow is going to be worse. You can go now. You can get to shelter. That was where we should have done that if people wanted to get out at that particular time. They had those chances on Tuesday, and we were trying to communicate that as best we could.
Mayor, this time y'all set up sort of your own EOC with the city. Why'd you do it? Is it something you think should be what the city should be doing going forward?
Well, we've always had, my understanding, our own little portion of it. We've tried to participate here. We have our assets that deal with the city down there, and then we try to communicate back up here. We continue to have our PIO people are still here at the EOC. We think that's vital to the sharing of communication. But at the end of the day, we do manage a little bit different area, and we need to be where we can centralize that. I think Chief Craner, Jenny, does a great job at that. We're going to continue to do that, what we need to do down there. But we will be sharing all information, and we feed off of what we get from the EOC. So, this is the county is the lead on these things. We will work with them, but at the same time, we felt like we needed to have our own little center so that we could take care of whatever we needed to do in our area. We had a very active response to rescue. You've probably seen some of the stories, both PPD and fire. It's no different. The county did the same thing, but I'm just saying we had to do that for ours. So we feel like at some point we need to have that center prepared and ready to go. And when it comes to preparation, listen. People will forget after 2 days that you made them prepare and that you didn't get anything. It's far better to do that. When I was here at the county, we did that with a snowstorm, and everybody said we were crazy for doing anything. Then it ended up the bridges got stuck, and it was probably a great decision we made that other places like Birmingham and Atlanta didn't do. I think you over-prepare, and at the worst-case scenario, if you didn't have it, you say, thank God I didn't have it, and you move on. But we always have to be prepared for a worst case scenario than what we think we're going to receive.
Who are the 5 contractors that you've hired for your debris removal?
We have 5 crews. I believe is one, and I thought I gave it to you yesterday, and I don't have that name again. But Kimmy will make sure we get it. It's 5 crews. We have divided into 5 zones of the city as they're cleaning up. We have 10 city crews that are working with them at this point. We do expect to have more than 5 contractor crews, but I think they're all from the contractors we've already hired. They were on. We had it already bid out, and so that came from. Is that
D&J.
D&J. So, thank you very much.
Janice, can you give us an update on the job fair for the debris
Oh,
inspectors?
I only have yesterday's numbers. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I didn't get,
Are there
we
still
had.
openings, or is everything filled?
Well, they have not given me today's update, but yeah, as of yesterday, we had over 400 applicants, and they had done 2 trainings of 150. Actually, they had done 3 trainings of 150 debris monitors. Now, as would be common, as there's an ebb and flow, and people that stay committed to the effort, and people may have to leave for different reasons. They said that they would be continuing to have job fairs throughout this event until we're completed.
Back on the FEMA assistance, and I just wanted to get this clarified because I spoke with Chairman Barry earlier today, and he was talking about the email address y'all set up asking people to send photos in. He said this information becomes an integral part of our FEMA application as it relates to the individual assistance component, but then y'all just said the application is done, so it's a little confusing. What's the story there?
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to just demonstrate all of the help that we need. That's what we're doing. So we're going to continue to share those photos with FEMA and FDEM.
Well, I would say a major declaration doesn't mean we're going to get IAs. So it is good that we do this to get IAs. That's good.
That's what I asked earlier. Is there a risk that we don't get the individual assistance? Have you heard anything like
I've not heard at all that we are not going to get the individual assistance. But what we want to do is we want to continue to impress that we have the need. So that's the main reason for us doing this. I understand that other communities might not be doing it, but I don't want to leave any stone unturned. That would be my, everybody that has come through this building has told us they need photos, they need photos, they need photos. And so we're continuing to provide those photos.
FEMA Director Pete Gaynor also told us.
Yeah. Director Gaynor even told us photos. So it seems to have been a common theme. And so even though we're providing photos with technical assessments and things like that, it does appear that, I mean, like I said, maybe other people aren't having to do it, but I don't think it hurts us to try and do it to make sure.
Is
Peter?
Tito Key,
Perdita.
excuse me, does that still have a curfew at this time? Or has that been lifted?
No, sir. Yes, sir. It does still have a curfew. It will be lifted on Thursday morning at 6 a.m.
There was a couple of people who called into our station concerned about the Bay Center when it had the shelter, when it first went online. There was not any volunteers. Was there any, so they would have to contact Red Cross to get additional assistance, or was that the case?
He is saying that there weren't volunteers. I'm not aware that there weren't volunteers at the Bay Center.
That's correct.
Yeah, there were volunteers. Or before
Red
when
Cross
it.
was there. They was helping manage the shelter.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else?
It sounds like that many places that are supposed to have generators such as nursing homes still do not have that in the area. That's something that you all are have found to be the case, and is it something that we need to work on going forward?
Yes, I would say two particular areas. So back after all the 9 hurricanes in 04 and 05, there was substantial legislation related to hurricane response that was passed, and that legislation specifically said that we wanted to have gas stations on the evacuation routes and nursing homes in particular to have particular types of generators so that they could operate independently for a long time after a storm. So it does appear that perhaps that has not been inspected as thoroughly as maybe it should have been, particularly at gas stations. So the plug-in to plug up to a generator is substantially, it's a substantial cost for a business, and so that is our understanding those businesses may not have made that investment. And so one of the things that our Commission specifically is going to ask to do is to look at legislation to require not only those inspections, but also go on and require that is actually taking place.
Mayor, back in '89, when the bridge was taken out, they had ferries operating. They actually brought in 2 ferries from Alabama that actually did do car service. I know you said that the draft is too shallow in Gulf Breeze, but is that, have you looked into the history of that? Is there
I was not aware that cars were part of it. I remember hearing people in Gulf Breeze say they parked cars in Pensacola and then carpooled. We believe that we have a lot of parking spaces around the current ferry spot that could work for that and assist with that as we work through it. The car part we'd have to figure out. I mean, again, I think right now we'd be open. All we got to do is get that platform done, and we're ready to do passenger. We would probably have to make some modifications for a car. I'm not sure what Gulf Breeze or Pensacola Beach have. I would look to them. So I mean, if nowhere else can take a car, then it's not going to be it's going to be passenger ferry only. So at this time, the easiest thing for us to get open is passenger ferry. The best thing to do, in my understanding, what happened in '89 is people took their stuff and they left cars right there. There are several parking lots right there. Obviously, there won't be the DOI ferry, so that's even more parking spaces that will be available right there. We have assets. We've told DOT we're happy to offer those assets through this period to get through the interim. We'll figure out what we all need to do. We're all a team together in the region, and we're trying to throw in whatever we have and figure out how to make the ferry system work. But I do think the ferry system will probably be some combination of what you said, bringing other ferries maybe from outside to do that, but I could also see it augmented with local charter boats and things that may, again, we'll have a dock. I don't care how you get to the dock, which type of boat you get there with. I see a scenario that would have multiple different types of things happening. I mean, we're talking about potentially a Pensacola Beach ferry or a Gulf Breeze ferry, so a lot of different things. And again, one of the things we've reached out to too is, and I've talked to Commissioner Bender about, they have trolley assets that aren't active during the next few months while we think we'll be experiencing this. So, getting those trolleys and having that available, we would love to have that as well. That could certainly aid us in getting all this done.
Okay, and I did want to mention that this may be the last press briefing this week, tomorrow, but our press room is always available for anyone that wants to have one. If we do have news, we'll probably have one on Friday to share, but anyone's welcome to use it at any time. So we just want to make that aware, okay? Thank y'all.
How'd the meeting go?